Good morning, guys, and welcome back to Dusting Off Warlord Saga of the Storm. Featuring Captain Taoth, another very, very old warlord out of Assassin's Strike. So the last episode we dealt with Wasan Wolf Spirit, and there were happy green flower meadows, and our nature friends and buddies, helping us out, potentially some non-violent solutions to our differences. I was very happy. Yeah, Taoth is nothing, nothing like that. So again, this is an older warlord. Again, one of the oldest ones. I am at some point going to get back into covering into the Accordland stuff. The real problem I have with it is most of these older stuff, again, a couple of the decks are new, but for the most part, I've been playing some of these decks for, 10, 15 years. And I like to say I don't think I'm really good at this game, but I do have a lot of experience, and I don't really like too much recording things when I don't know what I'm talking about. And in the Accordlands, I don't really know what I'm talking about. The Wasan thing, that was a fun little thought experiment, and I am on my journey to play Ephraim Dawnshredder and learn more of him, but for the most part, yeah, that's all new stuff. It's all speculative, so... So, Taoth, again, out of Assassin's Strike. The first shaman, I believe, actually, Padrig may have been in the first set. I don't remember. Evil this time, because back then, again, Nothrigs were mostly evil. Fifth level wizard, actually, very, very, almost the same stats as Wasan. The attack's the same, the alignment's different, but their skill and their attack and hit points are the same. Pretty much Wasan has an extra point of armor class. I don't think that matters very much. Taoth is one of the simplest warlords in the game. I think this is an incredible warlord to start out with. I think I had Taoth in my faction overview. That was recorded too long ago. All Taoth does, very, very simple, very, very straightforward. Range strikes performed by Taoth receive +4 to the die roll. Her range strikes are better. They're better than yours. And magic saves against spells cast by Taoth have +3 DC. Peace is a waste of time. I think her epic, because actually, I'm just now thinking. Okay, so she was in Assassin's Strike. I know she got reprinted in Epic Edition, and so did Black Tom. That's so odd. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but so there are a great many different ways you can build Taoth. They all kind of do the same thing. I think they're all as aggressive as possible. And one of the things that's nice about Taoth is. I mean, I don't know how much she goes for herself now, but you only need one copy of her. There are so many cheap options that work really, really well with Taoth. So I think that's pretty cool from a budget standpoint. So with Taoth, we are going to be playing this deck, I think, pretty much as aggressively as we can, at least in this version. This is by far the version I've had the most, I guess, experience with this archetype. Again, I'll get into several different ones. So we are going to be starting a copy of Ballista Crew next to a copy of Temwebam in rank 2. Temwebam, I mention this guy a lot because I'm a big fan of Temwebam because, again, shooting into rank 2, it's always glorious. The Ballista Crew is mostly just in here because randomly, this usually isn't necessary. We don't really play too many 2-hit point starters, except for Brine Fiend. But when they're there, they're freaking annoying, and Ballista Crew is just able to usually delete one, which is pretty awesome. Also, because it stuns itself, this, unless your ranks fall apart, which that does actually happen quite a bit with this deck, these guys are fragile. But because this stuns itself, a lot of times, if there's other things to strike, they'll usually ignore this, and then it's potential this becomes a late game threat. And this thing can be extremely dangerous late game against a Warlord if there's a Warlord in front, or if this thing fell forward to fix your ranks and it happens to survive until turn 3. So, in front of them, we've got a copy of Gruck, and 2 copies of Huldra on each side. Now, Gruck has been... This is the new copy. Gruck, the start used to be 3 Grucks. It was so awesome when these guys stacked. They used to give you +2, but they all stacked together, and I believe they used to work on your range strikes as well. Now it's just, you only need 1, and you can run more than 1, because he's probably going to die, because people don't want him around. But the bonus is bigger. It's +3, which is kind of nice. Huldra, this is just more shooting into rank 2, and these are +4s, so that's, the Gruck single strike doesn't really matter, and these are just, you want to try to break ranks as fast as you can, because you do not want this game to go long. You can sometimes, I have had games where it does go long, and I do manage to eke out a win, because you do have a couple a couple interesting applications if you're losing. Or if yeah, I'll get into it. So you can use the Hold Draw to shoot into rank 2. You can Tamwabam move forward to shoot into rank 2. Tamwabam can also move from side to side. You can't do this if she's the only character in her rank, but if it's your opening action and, I don't know, for some reason you need to shoot something in rank 1, you can move to the other side of the Ballista crew, and her +2 would go to a +5 with Grux, so that's pretty awesome. Now, the character base in this, actually, when I'm looking at this is all... Actually, no, when I get to the items, there's some value. But these guys are all, like, crappy and cheap, and nobody wants them. You got 3 copies of Karag to get you potentially an extra card if you draw him on the first turn. His stats are nothing amazing. He's just a punchy guy. We got 3 copies of Mudfleck, because, yeah, Mudfleck, he also generally dies really quickly. Got a +2 attack. You can kill him for a +8. The best scenario is he spends 2 attack, and then he blows himself up, so potentially 2 strikes. And +8 is a big range strike from a level 1 character. 3 copies of Durga, because Durga can also potentially swing twice, and the ability to get rid of cards in discard piles, get rid of characters. Situationally, it can be good. When it's good, it usually doesn't work, because they'll just kill her. They'll be like, yeah, I can't have you getting rid of the stuff I want to recur. So yeah. 3 copies of Gush, because yeah, Gush also potentially swings twice. Before he dies, form a melee strike. He can do that while he's spent, so yeah. And then 3 copies of Ruress, who just... He's basically a Northrog version of Aurora Blackmane. When he enters play, he performs a melee strike. His strike is significantly better. He's also slightly more fragile, but it doesn't really matter. Big fan of him. And then just a couple other support cards. We have a copy of Archer Tower, because this deck is mostly doing range strikes. You can build it to kind of focus on the save DC thing, and that is an option, but we're mostly focusing on range strikes for the most part. And then just an obligatory copy of Torin Yasar, just to try to help find potentially some important stuff. So you notice all these characters are pretty much all just level 1s. They come in, they hopefully strike, and they probably get killed. Like these guys, I want to say the average armor class here is 9. It's 9s and 10s. These guys, yeah, you guys died at, like, anything that projects damage over a wide area, these guys will just get slaughtered by. It's funny. But yeah, you just want to try to win as fast as possible with this, and that's worked out fairly well for me. Potentially there are some other things you can do, but I'll get into that later. Now, one of the things with Taoth that is really, really easy to fall, I don't even want to say fall victim, because I don't think it's a bad idea, is overloading on items, because good lord, there are some amazing, amazing items to use with Taoth. Her range strike ability does apply to her items, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, the same is not said for her save DCs. Those only apply to spells she's casting, and I believe it only applies to actual magic saves. I could be incorrect about that, but... and again, maybe the newer printing is worded differently. I don't remember. I can't remember. It's not super relevant for what I'm doing here. So, we've got 3 copies of Amulet of Force and 3 copies of Glyph of Fate. So, Amulet of Force, it's a 7th level wizard item. It's important that this is able to be equipped in rank 2. And there are some pretty cool items and pretty cool things that I don't like running, because I don't want to risk drawing them after Taoth's moved to the front, and she's moving to the front on the first turn every single time. So Amulet of Force, you can spend it for a +3. That'll be a +7 with Taoth, and then discard it for a +9 with Taoth, which is those are pretty awesome, and it's all coming from a single card. It does destroy itself when you do that big +9, but you can spend it for the +7 and then do the +9. And then 3 copies of Glyph of Fate. This is... Oh, there are so many applications with this card. This is basically just in here too, and this is probably a no-duh. I'm not doing anything crazy with this. It's just make sure that something that has to hit, has to hit. Again, late game, that Ballista crew, if you have a Glyph of Fate going off, again, that could end the game right there. If it's, some guy who's in the front and he's decked out, his AC is really good, but this makes it so you auto-hit, which is pretty nice. It also discards itself when you do this, or I guess it destroys itself. The Amulet of Force say discard, but this is also, these are old cards. It would probably just say destroy order now. I don't know. But because we want to keep using those, we do have a copy of Nodwick, who is a familiar. You can use this to spend it to equip an item from your discard pile that this character can legally equip. Again, just a single Nodwick, and you can only play in one Nodwick because he is epic in Ancients. You can spend the Amulet of Force, discard it to shoot, get it back, and do it all over again. That's 4 pretty quality range strikes, and it's only 2 cards necessary to do it. Likewise, if you don't need quantity of strikes, if it's just something big that you just can't hit, you just keep attempting to recycle the Glyph of Fate to make sure your shots succeed. And yeah, then just a couple other things. This is already a bit more itemy than I like, but it's fine. We got a copy of Ring of Blasting and a copy of Red Worm's Egg. So Ring of Blasting, this can no longer start in play anymore. This came out of Stolen Destinies. I do actually hope they reprint at least this one and Ring of Piercing. I think are the two really good ones, because these are kind of hard to get now. Your characters in your army have -3 attack. That is actually relevant, so you probably don't want to play this until it's going to do something amazing. But oh boy, can this thing do some amazing stuff. As an order, you remove a spell in your discard pile from the game. This wizard spells have a +2 bonus to DC and range strike rolls until end of the turn. And you can discard a spell, and your spells inflict an additional wound until end of turn. Neither of these are limited to once per turn. So you can... Oh, good lord. Again, you can, say you've had an explosive hand, you've played 4 spells, you can get rid of all 4 of them to get a +8 bonus to your range strikes and save DCs, and that stacks with Taoth bonus, and then play a spell from your hand. Yeah, and it's amazing. You can also do the discard spells, discard a spell to make your spells inflict additional wound. I don't do that too terribly often, but it can be important. You can actually combo this if your hand is correct. You can do that multiple times, and then pretty much just use the Glyph of Fate to make sure whatever you're doing hits, so the spells aren't really wasted. Yeah, and then Red Worm Egg, this is just, you spend it before you make a range strike roll, and the strike inflicts additional wound, just to help out there. Again, I think that's one of the reasons why I don't really use the Ring of Blastings things, the wounding part, too terribly often. I do sometimes, but, so how many items? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 items, that's a lot, and it is, again, it's really easy to get carried away with the items with Taoth, because there's so many good ones. Put that there. And then, so for spells, you get, again, the spells, there's a ton of spells that Taoth just makes great. In this case, the only one that we're using that really is strictly a save DC is Ball Lightning. We got 3 copies of this. Target a character within 2 ranks. They have to succeed with a magic save, DC 15, +3 for Taoth, so talking DC 18, or suffer 1 wound. This is really, really useful for stupid, okay, reality check, this is in here because of freaking Dilchant Keeper, because I'm freaking sick of that, okay? I'm sick of freaking, I hate that guy. I'm not even saying he's bad, I'm saying he's annoying. So this gets around. I'll just kill him with this. It's fine. Then we've got 3 copies of Fiery Bolts. This can give you marksmanship if there are at least 2 other characters in this rank. That doesn't happen too terribly often here. It is really nice when it does happen. So yeah, because being able to get an extra +5 or mostly shooting an additional rank away is pretty awesome. This is just in here because it is a +4 range strike. It's +8 with Taoth, which is pretty awesome. We've got 3 copies of Elemental Bolt out of 4th edition. What was this? I think this used to be Power Bolt. Power Bolt is still perfectly usable, I think, with Taoth, and these are kind of hard to get, I think. Hopefully they reprint these too. You choose an elemental type. That doesn't really matter right now. You perform a +X range strike, where X is this wizard level, so 5. If this wizard is level 5 or higher, perform 2 additional range strikes. So this is 3 +9s. Like, that's pretty good right there. I mean, you got nothing to complain about that. We've got 3 copies of Icy Surge. I think they did reprint this in the Box of Greed. I would have preferred Elemental Bolt because I think these are easier to get. But it has 2 things. It's one of those modal cards. Actually, I think the rest of these are modal cards, yes. It's an order. You perform a +5 range strike. After the strike, the target must succeed with a magic save, DC 12, or become spent. Actually, more useful than it sounds, because the strike on this does not need to hit to force that save DC. She probably is going to hit something with that, but you never know. So you can do that as an order, or as a spend order. It's even better. You perform a +8 range strike, so +12 with Taoth. I mean, that's pretty awesome. After the strike, the target must succeed with a magic save, DC 5 plus this wizard's skill, +3 for Taoth, or become stunned. So again, you can use this to kind of lock something down. And again, the strike doesn't actually need to hit. You probably hit with that. I mean, a +12 hits a lot of stuff. So, and then of course, 3 copies of Incinerate. Very, very glad that they reprinted those in the Box of Greed to make those a bit more accessible. Yeah, order perform a +6, so order perform a +10. Spend order perform 2 +13s. I mean, yeah, it's pretty great. And then really the only change I've made to this recently out of Into the Accord Lands is including Flame Lance. I think this was a final power. Yeah, this was final power. And then when I got these, I was just like, yeah, this is like, I think usually strictly better. Wounds from it can't be reduced. Again, that can be extremely important. Order, perform a +5, so perform a +9, or spend order, perform a +5, +9. That inflicts an additional wound. Great spell. Don't know how good it is in the actual Into the Accordland set, but it's an order range strike, potentially a spend order if she's got nothing better to do. For an additional wound, and they can't heal it. So again, combining that with something like Glyph of Fate, I mean that could suck. So. Again, there's not really too much to say about this build. It's just move Taoth into rank 2, or she falls to rank 2. That happens plenty often too. And just keep swinging with everything you've got, and hopefully you win the game with that. I have a very, very poor record of success if the game goes longer than maybe 2 turns. It just tends to fall apart. The Glyph of Fate does help if you have to crack something, but the characters are so fragile. Taoth is so fragile, and if she, for some reason, ends up in rank 1 and can't shoot things, that's GG. Like, the game's probably over. There's no movement in the deck. You can run movement. I just don't like it. I like this. It's fun to play, and the games are super quick. So, but there are plenty of other things you can do. You can alter your character lineup a bit. Now, the only thing that I would consider, how do I word what I'm thinking here? So the only question I really have with Taoth as far as the characters go, because you can alter that kind of however you want. You can play things like Akvuk. I do quite like Akvuk. He's just not in here. He probably should be, though. I mean, really, the Karags, these probably should be Akvuks, but, you know, I'm a dreamer. Hopefully you draw him on turn 1 and he replaces himself. But really, the question was, do I want to potentially get a rank 3 in order to play Jackals of Morn and for all? And you can do that, and they do add, I don't want to say they add staying power. They do add some quality strikes, and I guess, you know, Jackals is quasi-staying power, because he's got the planar trait. And for all his staying power, if he is not entering play on turn 1, I don't think it's enough to help. I think it is doable. I'm just, whatever. But out of Into the Accordlands, Nog, Pog, and Snivels, this actually I think is a potentially very interesting addition. It's probably better than Nightmaster Ress, because this is potentially generating 3 strikes in a single turn. You play it, it punches, it just normally punches, and then when it dies, they probably just punch it and kill it just to avoid the second strike. So, yeah, I think potentially a very, very interesting addition. Just not doing it now, and I only have 1. So, yeah. And then, again, spell lineup. There is so much good stuff as far as spells go. I probably should have organized this a little bit better. You have, Raise, I think. Raise is a potentially very interesting spell. Spend order. For each of your next 3 orders, skip that order and instead perform a range strike with the bonus equal to this wizard's skill. So, +9, going up to +13 with Taoth's ability. These strikes may target an additional rank away if you have more cards in your hand than your opponent. Yeah, I don't think I've ever tried this. I think it's a very interesting idea, especially if you include some movement, and Taoth is casting this, again, from rank 2. You wouldn't be able to use this in rank 3 unless you had more cards, before you played this. Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to do it as your opening action. Again, but there's so... Okay, I think this is how this is ordered. Yeah, there's so many just good common spells. Like, none of this stuff is, like, really valuable. I guess the Nautowick is valuable, but, I mean, you don't even really need that. Power Bolts. Spend order, it's a common. Perform a +0 range strike. Add this for each level of this wizard above first, add +1 to the roll. For each 2 levels of this wizard above first, perform an additional +2 range strike. That does not gain the bonus based on level, but it does get Taoth bonus. It's 3 shots, and like these are freaking, at least at the time of this recording, like everybody has, like those are easy to get. Evoke Crisis. Again, I talk about this card a lot because I actually like this card quite a bit. It's level 1. Range strikes from the spell can target an adjacent rank. That could actually be very, very helpful if Taoth, again, she's in rank 1 and she's probably screwed, but the first thing she does is play this and toss her hand. Maybe it gets you out of a pickle. Discard any number of cards. This has been errated. The number of cards you discard can't be greater than your level, but Taoth's level 5, so yeah, you can toss your whole hand. Perform a +2 range strike, and then perform a +0 range strike for each card discarded. Again, with how Ride or Die this deck is, I think this is perfectly usable. Even Blast, the OG, the original, just order, perform a +3. It's a +7. What's not to love about that? And if for whatever reason you want like the Hundras to it's Hundra, right? Whatever her name is, Huldra, yeah. In case you need a Huldra to cast that, say she's spent to shoot, and they only have 1 character in rank 2, and they're trying to do something juicy in the back. You can gamble that +3 to hopefully break their ranks and, yeah, cause some chaos. Acid Arrow, it's a range strike, and if it hits, you discard an item. Yeah, This is I think a little bit on the weaker side, because if they're building up, you probably don't hit them too terribly often anyway, unless you draw the Glyph of Fate. But if you do, that's awesome. Again, final power, perfectly usable. Perform a +5 range strike as an order. If you have any copies of Final Rage in your discard pile, perform another +5 range strike. I think you potentially could do that. Like, I think what you'd do is you would start. I think her name's Sixla. I think her name's Sixla, the level 2 with the +5 who can move forward. That way you can play the final power and actually, or the final rage and actually have it, and then it's not just a dead card to make the final powers better. Don't think I've ever done that, but I think it's an option. An interesting. So this is an interesting one that I don't really see people play. I'm a big fan of this card. Retributive Strike. So this card is so funny. As an order, you destroy an item equipped to this character, perform a +7 range strike. Again, you can use that to get rid of. I mean, this I guess would make the Amulet of Forces shot a bit bigger. But I mean, really, this is mostly in here if you decide to go a bit more item heavy. And as a spend order, you can attach it to the character, and they can do they can basically play it once per turn. I'm gonna set that aside because I'm gonna bring it up in a second here. It's funny, and yeah, I think it's definitely potentially useful. And then a couple other things. Combat casting. This is basically a way to get one of the lower level spells back. Now, one of the interesting things is. After this character casts a spell that inflicted a wound on an opposing character, it doesn't have to kill them, it just has to wound them. Return a level 3 or lower spell from your hand to your discard pile. The thing is, there's some really, really good level 3 spells. In fact, most of the spells in this deck are legal. I think the Incinerate's the only... Yeah, Incinerate's the only level 4. I mean, getting back Elemental Bolt with that, I mean, that is pretty nice, because Elemental Bolt's pretty solid. The only issue with this is it itself is not an attack spell, so if you draw 2 of these and no other attack spells, it sucks when that happens. Like, it sucks a lot when that happens, but whatever. And then, of course, you have Medusan Lord's Gambit. This is a potentially interesting spell, again, if you're going to play Feral and Jackals of Morn and you don't necessarily want Taoth moving up super quick, because this has unlimited range, and there's not a whole lot you can do when this is going off. Like, you can't really stop this once it gets cast, which is, I think, pretty cool. Yeah, characters may not perform reacts to or during this action. Spend order, target up to 2 characters in different ranks who must succeed with a magic save. DC 5 plus a wizard skill or suffer a wound. If the save fails by 10 or more or is a critical failure, the target suffers an additional wound. So, yeah, this is really better if you're combining it with Shadow, which in that deck you would probably be running anyway. But it gets 2 characters. The save DC is not amazing. I mean, it's... What is that? 5, so 14, so DC 17 with Taoth. That's acceptable. I mean, a lot of lower level characters are going to fail that, so... Oh, and then this is a beauty card out of Into the Accordlands that I'm strongly considering trying to find a way into this because of what this does. Grave Exchange. It's level 5. It's necrotic. I don't think that really matters too much. Spend order, perform 2 +5 range strikes. They're +9s. If a character would be killed by this action, banish it instead and put a character from your discard pile into play. The reason this is really interesting is this is potentially, I mean, getting rid of their guys and banishing them, I guess, is kind of, yeah. But because we have so many characters who potentially swing when they come into play, like, where is he? Like Rares here, or I mean, even characters like Gush or Durga who potentially swing twice. That can be a very, very big help in not having your formations fall apart. You wouldn't be able to cast this on turn 1, which is really the unfortunate part, because again, I don't run any movement. Or Mudfleck. Get your Mudflecks back. I mean, that could be freaking awesome right there. Shooting an extra +8 into their second rank, that could be pretty freaking cool. I do like that. Again, I would probably have to retool the deck a bit because I don't really want to. I think for the most part, one of the design philosophies I had when I built this, and this is an old deck, I mean, except for the Flame Lance and the Incinerate, I guess the Icy Surge as well. This deck has been around in some incarnation that I've had for a very, very long time, and it's usually in a version like this. Is there are practically no dead cards. I don't really think it's possible to draw a card and not be able to play it when you draw it, unless Tau is for some reason in rank 1. Then some of the items is a no-no. But outside of that, it's just everything is just I don't have to save anything because there's nothing to save. It's just go, 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 and yeah, oh, it's great. Yeah, so those are, and there's plenty, I'm sure there's plenty of other spells I'm not even thinking of, and just, she makes pretty much everything good, or if it's bad, she makes it okay. If it's okay, she makes it good, and if it's good, she makes it incredible. I think she's great. So, as far as items go, again, it is extremely easy to get carried away with how many items you have, and the reason I'm not as big on the items as the actions. Is the items, generally speaking, it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit. The action economy is not very good. And again, your guys are fragile. You need to be killing things. You need to be killing guys as fast as you can because your guys are not going to survive counterattacks. Practically anything kills them. Yeah. So having to equip the item and then they get an action and then finally doing something with it. I think with the Amulets of Force and the Glyph of Fates, it's acceptable because the effect is so strong. Some of these are potentially... I mean, some of these might be on par with that. I'm just... Yeah. I don't think I have these ordered in any way, so it is just about to be a rambling session. Yeah, you're in for... Okay, so Spitting Cobra. We'll try to do this quickly here. It's a familiar. I love this familiar. Spend it. It gives you +3 skill. Can be important. Spend it. Target a character within 2 ranks. They have to make a poison save, DC 12, or suffer a wound. It's an item that's a save. Now, again, unfortunately, Taoth's ability doesn't make that better because it's not a spell, and it's not a magic save, so yeah. I was running this for the longest time, Rod of Roaring Flames. You basically spend it for a +5, so you're spending it for a +9. I think it's good. I just think the amulets are better, so... But definitely usable. Out of Into the Accordlands, Well of Screams. This might make its way in here, because this is really interesting with how many low-level spells you can play in here. I think right now it's just, the Ball Lightning and the Fiery... I guess Elemental Bolt, too. I could potentially put this in. I don't like this Into the Accordlands very much because it seems like it takes too long to get any real value out of it. I could be, again, that's all speculation. I could be completely wrong about that. Twice per turn before target character is killed, banish the target instead and add a charge counter to Well of Screams. Order, spend will, and remove any number of charges from it. This character casts a spell from your discard pile with a level equal to the number of charges removed, then banish the spell. Again, maybe it's good. I think in a deck like this, if you kind of retooled it and put in things like Blast, put in things like Evoke Crisis, I think this gets very interesting because it's not going to be difficult to get this to go off. And she can equip this in rank 2. So, actually, let me skip ahead a little bit. Along with playing cards from your discard pile, you can also run Robe of the Plains. This is just an armor that basically once per turn you could wound the person wearing it to cast a spell from your discard pile and then remove it from the game. Definitely playable, just not doing it now. There's a couple other ones. There's Dark Card of Kilneon, which I think definitely usable. I'm a big fan of that card. And then Tome of Memory, I think, is the other one, which is kind of the crappy version because it kind of sucks now, but still, if you like playing stuff out of your discard pile, potentially an option. If you're going with a bunch of the lower level stuff, the Nihil Familiar can potentially get you... This can potentially get you, 2 Power Bolts or 2 Elemental Bolts in 1 turn. I do really like this. So many of those cards are able to be played as orders now that I don't... This used to be in here because, I didn't have the option of saying, order, do this, or if I can spend to do a better one, and I have nothing better to do. Where was I going with this? I think this is great. This is a freaking great card. Just not playing it. Oh, and then because of the changes to the Charisma feat, Mask of Command, I think, is potentially interesting. You could probably replace this with anything else that's giving you Charisma. This just lets you potentially do it twice. So I think this is potentially very, very useful. The tempo is really bad, though, because you have to equip it. I mean, that's one thing. Then you play, you cast a spell, you Charisma. You either Charisma yourself or you Charisma them. Then you have to spend it to get the second use of the Charisma feat. It just feels kind of clunky, but I think it's interesting. And then out of the first set, Narwhal Ring. This, I think, this probably should be in here. I didn't like this for the longest time because I had so many items in the deck, and Narwhal Ring. Holy crap, Zach, calm down. You haven't even finished your first energy drink yet. Good lord. Whenever this character performs a range strike from a spell, add +4 to the dice roll. This should probably go back in now that I think about it, because again, it won't work on the Ball Lightning, and it won't work on the Amulet of Force, but everything else would love an extra +4. So yeah, we'll set that as that might be going back in. I don't really like this, except that we're playing Nautilus. Cabal Trials. Discard it, target a character in play who must succeed with a magic save, DC 18 minus number of ranks away or suffer a wound. Just the fact that this can hit things in their rank 2, the save DC is not going to be very good. That's going to be, DC 14? If Taoth is in... I guess it'd be 13 if she does this if she plays this and then uses it as her second action. I think potentially interesting. Again, probably better if you're running Shadow. If you're doing Medusan Lord's Gambit and running Shadow, that's probably way better because it wounds them no matter what. Same thing, Rod of Shattering, Ivory Scepter. These are just things that are forcing save DCs or suffer wounds, but they don't benefit from Taoth's ability, so you can probably still play these. I don't really like that. I don't know. Shroud of Lost Souls, which is potentially, again, it's recursion removal. It gets rid of characters in discard piles, and it potentially makes them suffer wounds. It does give you some armor class. The reason I'm not playing any defensive stuff is because Taoth's armor class is so low, and the army is so fragile that if she's gonna die, she's gonna die. I don't think trying to keep her alive really works very well. Just be as aggressive as you can. And then Cloak of the Leech, there's an item in the new set, I think it's like a book or something like that, that works very, very similar to this. It starts with a charge. After the ready phase, you put a charge on this, and spells cast by this wizard get a bonus to range strike rolls and DC saves equal to the number of charges on the cloak. The reason I don't, well, there's several reasons why I don't play this. I think it is playable. The problem is one. This starts off only adding one. I think the book also. I think it's a book. It might be a cloak or something. I don't know. Whatever is in Into the Accordlands. Is this takes a little bit too long to get what I would consider any real value out of it. If you were to change your character lineup a bit and you were to play, we'll say, Kabir the Insane to put charges on this to make it go faster, you would need to run transference too to really make it sing, and that's. Although you could, I don't think it's in here. You could make some kind of weird combo with that, using Retributive Strike, and then I think it's called Blood and Bone, which I couldn't find a copy. I know I have them somewhere. As a way to potentially recycle the Blood and Bone with Nodwick and using Retributive Strike to destroy it, and any charges that you don't need on the cloak or for whatever reason, you can transference them onto the Blood and Bone if you don't draw the Retributive Strike or the Nodwick. Okay, yeah, that sounds crazy. It's silly talk. And then Doombringer, I think the original one that I saw back in the day was, I think 2 Rod of Roaring Flames and 2 Doombringers. I don't like this because it's level 8, and so if you don't draw this in your opening hand, you can't play. And I don't want any of these cards to be dead cards. The deck is too fragile for me to go, well, I'm playing with a 4-card hand this turn. Like, I don't want that. But spend it for 2+. You target 1 to 2 characters 2 ranks away and adjacent to each other. Select the order of the attack, then perform a +2 range strike against each target. So they're +6s. Yeah, is it usable? Yeah, I don't really like this. I don't like that they have to be next to each other. I don't like that you can't shoot the same guy twice with this. But, you can use it. Ring of Spirit Rack. This is freaking super ghetto. This is only in here because it stuns things. Or it was only in here because it stuns things. You spend it for a +0 range strike. If the range strike hits, the target is stunned instead of wounded. If you get a critical success, the target is wounded in addition to being stunned. So you combine this with the Glyph of Fate, and it can lock someone down. It can potentially kill them, after a couple turns, and if they're stunned every turn, that could be depressing for them. So yeah, it's usable. You're going to notice that a lot of this is usable, and again, I'm not even saying this deck is good. It's just I've been playing Taoth for a long enough time that a lot of these didn't make the cut for a reason, but again, a lot of this stuff is perfectly playable. Necklace of Fireballs. This basically is actually now, with how Fireball has been re-errated back to basically its original printing outside of the spending part. This just lets you throw fireballs at things, and basically you can remove an extra charge to. Okay, let me just read this. Spend order, remove a charge token from the necklace, perform a +4 range strike. After the strike, the characters adjacent to the target must succeed with a magic save, DC 9 or suffer 1 wound. Again, this won't benefit from Taoth because it's not a spell. You may remove another charge token instead of spending, so you can potentially get rid of all 3 charges in 1 turn, and that can be pretty explosive. Yeah. Phantasmal Steed. This would be. These are probably what I would be running if I were running movement, because it does give you Scribe if for some reason you weren't casting spells. And I don't know what scenario I'm not just throwing my hand at them every turn. Like, that's what this deck does. But potentially, it's movement, and it's potentially, say you had something better that say you wanted to play, I don't know, Icy Surge for its spend order. You can save it for later and it's not clogging up your hand. Okay, so Shield of Dulon and Spellbook, these both increase your level for casting spells. So if you really like Powerbolt, you could potentially get, some extra Powerbolt shots off of this, because unlike Elemental Bolt, Powerbolt doesn't have a cap on how many shots it can make. It's just, most of the time, you can't get your level too terribly high in order to make the 4th shot or the 5th shot with it. These can help with that, so they just give you +1 level for casting spells. Shield of Dulon also does, I guess, kind of help you with the little buff. Order once per turn until end of turn. This character adds +2 to his range strike rolls from spells for each Dulon set item equipped to this character. Spellbook, +1 level for casting spells, +2 to magic saves for spell DCs. So, yeah. If you were going to do something like that, now I have done this in the past, and this was actually kind of a fun deck to play. Kabbalite Staff. Basically, once per game, you search your deck for a spell and attach it to a Kabbalite Staff. Whenever this wizard casts a spell with the same name as one attached to Kabbalite Staff, add 4 to all DCs and range strike rolls from that spell. So this was fun on Taoth. I think it's more fun on Tersoth than it is on Taoth. But again, if you really like Power Bolt, or I keep bringing up Power Bolt because that's the spell I used to run the crap out of that spell. But once Elemental Bolt came out, I'm like, I like this more. You could, I guess, do this with Elemental Bolt too. The problem with it is it's taking one of them out of your deck, so your odds of drawing it are not super. The extra ones is not super great. That's why I like this on Terrasoth more, because he can basically you only need to get one copy onto Terrasoth and then one copy onto this, and it's off to the races. So potentially usable. And then just two other things you can do here. We have Extension Scroll and Necklace of Spell Storing. Necklace of Spell Storing is basically just another way to keep recycling your spells. The problem with this is the check is kind of high, and Taoth actually doesn't have very good skill. She would need, what is that, an 11? It's 50-50. I mean, 50-50 is not terrible, but yeah. And then Extension Scroll, before targeting a spell, succeed with a Spellcraft check, DC 18 plus the spell's level, to allow the spell to target an additional rank away. I do not, again, can you use this? Yes, I don't really think it's necessary. If they have an extremely resistant front, I don't know. I don't think I've ever had any games where it's like, I can't get to you. The only thing stopping me from getting to you is your front guys. It's either I'm able to wipe them all out, or even if I'm able to shoot further, it's not going to help me very much. So, yeah. Oh, this is kind of a longer episode. Good lord. That's Taoth right there. I probably only scratched the surface. Again, pretty much any wizard spell that is doing damage is pretty good with Taoth. It's just this is just what I've eventually devolved into, or evolved into. I'm not really sure. I'm rambling at this point. Yeah. That's Taoth, guys. Thanks for checking this out. God bless you, and I'll catch you in the next video.